أوهام الواصفين الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين أبي القاسم محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي. صدق الله العلي العظيم. There's a request for Surah Fatiha for all mu'mineen and mu'minat and for the parents of Sayyid Muhammad Hussain Jafri, son of Niyaz Ahmad, and Zar Fatma Rizvi, daughter of Talmiz Hussain. Especially these individuals and every other Surah Fatiha. صلوا على محمد وعلى محمد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Tonight is the second Majlis of the series of Majalis. Yesterday it was just an introduction and welcoming the month of Muharram. And tonight inshallah we will go into the topic that we have chosen for these nights all the way up till Ashura. The verses that I recited are from chapter number 89, Surah Fajr, last 4 verses. And these are the verses, and I'm sure you've heard it many times, and most of you, even by hearing them, have an understanding of the meaning of these verses. And the reason behind choosing these verses is so that we can relate the topic that we are about to address, that is the messages from Ashura. We look at the ayat begins, Ya ayyatuhan nafsul mutma'inna. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing a serene soul, a soul which is satisfied, a soul which is at comfort. And that's why it addresses, Ya ayyatuhan nafsul mutma'inna. And I'm sure you've heard many majalis and discussions on different types of nufus that exist. That is not our topic, we won't go in that. But that's one thing we understand, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to develop this nafs-e mutma'inna. The soul which is at rest, the soul which is at peace, the soul which is satisfied. Therefore, the next ayah right away says, Irji'i ila rabbiki radiyatan mardiyya. Return to your Lord in a state that you are pleased with Him and He is also pleased with you. A lot of time, you and I look at this verse and we say, well, we are trying to seek, everybody in the world is trying to seek the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The reason behind all of these ibadat that we perform is what? Not to please our parents. Okay, maybe initially it might be the fact that we're trying to please our parents. But when we grow older and we become mukallaf, when we have to perform this ibadat as a wajib, then who are we trying to please? If we're still trying to please our parents, then we've got the formula wrong. The purpose is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing in this ibadah could be mixed in to be pleasing someone other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You perform salat, just one Allahu Akbar is to show it to someone else, the whole namaz is gone. On the day of judgment, you stand in front of the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you say, well, you know that the ibadah that I have performed, oh God, where is that ibadah? You'll be shown. Yes, the ibadah you performed for me, but there was one Allahu Akbar that you said for someone else. You lose the credit for the whole ibadah. It was not khalis. It was not sincerely for me. And that's why we keep on making this niyat, the intention of qurbatan ilallah. Next part of the verse says what? فَادْخُلِي فِي عِبَادِي. Enter into being my servant. So we have not been servants yet. Once we attain this nafs mutma'innah, and we understand that this relationship is not one way, it is pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He is also pleased with us and we are pleased with Him. This is where the stage comes that become the relationship of ma'bud and abd. Don't underestimate this relationship of ma'bud and abd, the worshipper and the one who's being worshipped. Because this is the place and position which is among the highest of the ranks and the positions. You refer to Quran in regards to all of the anbiya that have been mentioned in Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to them as His abd. When we recite the tashahhud, we say, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Rasul is His nasb. The Rasul is His duty. That's what He is sent for. But that's not what He's being addressed. He's first addressed as the servant of Allah, abd of Allah, and then He's addressed as Rasul. That shows us the status of someone who's at the rank of ubudiyat. So you become the abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَادْخُلِي jannati. Enter into my paradise. We look at Quran and we see that how there's one constant message in these four verses. Verse number 27, 28, 29, and 30 of Surah Fajr, chapter number 89. We see there's one constant message. And some of you might have thought that it was actually one verse and not four different verses. Because there's one continuous discussion that is going on. O nafs mutmain, return to your Lord. In this way, be my servants and enter into my paradise. Seems like one constant message which is being discussed. Then why is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has broken it down into four different ayat? We'll address that first. But you say, why are we addressing this ayat? There are two things when it comes to Quran. There's interpretation of Quran, there's tafsir of Quran, and then there's implementation, which is referred to as tatbiq of Quran. So tafsir of Quran refers to for which this ayat was revealed. Obviously the whole Quran was revealed into the heart of Rasulullah, but then over the period of 23 years, as the events were unfolding, ayat after ayat were revealed. A group of Jews come to Prophet, asks him, "O Prophet, explain to us how your Lord is like." Prophet, does he not know? Can he not explain? If someone comes to you and asks you, "Can you explain to me your Lord, your Allah that you worship?" Prophet paused, waited for a day, 2 days, the third day when the ayat came down, he gave them the answer. Qul huwa Allahu ahad. Tell them, O Prophet, Allah is ahad. He's samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad. He does not have a son, nor is he a father, nor was he born. And there's no one like him. Prophet explained. So as the events were unfolding, the event of Mubahala takes place, you read that ayat, which is about Mubahala. The event of Ghadir takes place, the ayat is revealed. Ya ayyuha Rasul, balligh ma unzila ilayka. Different events are unfolding, different ayat are being revealed. So that is called the tafsir. You look at this ayat, you say, well, this was the incident, And this is where this ayat was revealed. And so this is what's called the tafsir of the ayat. But then there's a tatbiq of the ayat as well. Mutabiqat. Implementation of the ayat as well. Not necessarily this event has taken place when this ayat is revealed. But maybe later on an event might take place for which this ayat is mutabiqat, holds, indirectly or directly connection with it. And that's why you hear that when Imam ﷺ was in the battlefield, he hears these verses, Ya ayyatuhan nafsul mutmainna, irji'i ila rabbiki radiyatan mardiyya. This nafs al-mutmain is being addressed to whom? Imam ﷺ.
Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
So the implementation of nafs al-mutmainna is Imam ﷺ. O Imam, O Hussein, O nafs al-mutmainna, return to your Lord in the state that you are satisfied with me and I am satisfied with you. You and I are doing ibadat to do what? To please Allah. But here we understand that there are certain individuals, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to please them. When you get to that stage when Allah is trying to please you, it's not a hadith that we're talking about that you could say, well, where do you get this hadith from? This is the ayat of Quran. Radi wa mardi. 2 different words are being used. Go ahead and pick up all the translations. One is where you are pleasing Allah. Second is when Allah is pleasing you. I'll give you another example. Prophet loses all of his sons. Right away people are taunting him, saying, oh Muhammad, you've lost your son. Your legacy will not continue. They were calling him Abtar, the one whose tail's cut off, who does not have any legacy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals an ayat to him. He said, وَلَسَوْفَ يُعْتِيكَ رَبُّكَ فَقَرْضَى. Indeed, in near future we will give you something that will satisfy you. Allah is trying to satisfy Habib. Here we understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there are certain individuals whom Allah is trying to please. And there's nothing wrong with that. How did he please Prophet? He said, إِنَّا أَعْطَيْنَاكَ الْكَوْثَرَ. These people are calling you Abtar. We have indeed given you Kawthar. Now pray to your Lord and perform the sacrifice. Your enemy is Abtar, not you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleasing Prophet by giving him Kawthar. And Mufassirin have agreed as to what this Kawthar is. Kawthar, some people translate this is a pond in paradise. This is a river. This is the knowledge. This is the nubuwwat. Well, if that was the case, you go ahead and read the translation and tell me, what does Kawthar mean? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Indeed, we have given you a pond in paradise. Perform salat, give sacrifice, your enemy is Abtar. Your enemy's tail is cut off. Indeed, we have made you Nabi, perform salat, give sacrifice, your enemy's tail is cut off. Or, indeed, we have given you Fatimatul Zahra, salamullahi alayha, through whom you will be given a progeny in the forms of imams, last of whom will remain in this world until the day of judgment, until waqt al-ma'loom. Perform salat, give sacrifice. Your enemy is without legacy, not you, O Prophet. Definitely makes more sense. And this is where the debate begins. But nonetheless, we're going into tangents if you go into these ayat. But the point that I was trying to prove is that the ayat of Quran have tafsir and tatbiq. So among the mutabiqat and the implementation of these verses from Surah Fajr, chapter 9, and last 4 verses, Ya ayyatuhan nafsul mutmainna is referred to most. But then why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala breaks these ayat into these ayat? The kalam is cut off, then it starts again, then cut off, then it starts again. Where it seems like one continuous discussion. Surah Fatiha is the same way. All these smaller surahs that we recite are pretty much one discussion. Why are they broken off into different ayat? For example, if I came over here and I sat and I said, every day you hear the brother announces the program. Did you forget to understand it yesterday? Why is he reminding you? Then from now on up until the day of Ashur, he will remind you of the schedule of the day of Ashur. Amal will begin in the morning. Then we'll have Loran. Then we'll perform. We'll have the Majlis in English. Then we'll have the Majlis in Urdu. Then we'll have Matam. Then we'll have Faqra Shitni. Then we'll have Sham Ghariba. We'll have Maghrabain. We'll have Sham Ghariba. We'll have Matam. He keeps on explaining it, one after another, one after another. When I began this speech, I was going slowly. But as I picked up the momentum, now I'm going smoothly. Not that I couldn't go smoothly earlier, but it was how you pick up the momentum. Why is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala breaks the ayat in the way that He has broken them? Ayat, Ya ayyatuhan nafsul mutmainna, is one ayat. Irji'i ila rabbiki radiyatan mardiyah is one ayat. Fadkhuli fi ibadi is one ayat. Wadkhuli jannati is another ayat. 4 different ayat. The reason behind, and Mufassirin had mentioned, is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to pay attention to every single ayat that He talks about. Don't go through the ayat in one sequence without pondering over them. Look at ayat by ayat, ayat after ayat, so you comprehend, you understand. Because that is the reason why Quran is revealed. أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ, do they not ponder over the verses that we have revealed? It is not just for recitation, rather you have to understand and ponder over the ayah. So Allah wants us to be attentive when it comes to these. There are these messages. And our topic is also messages from Ashura. First of all, we need to understand what message is. Message, there's a difference between a message and a lesson. Lesson learned and messages learned. Sometimes a message is given by an individual. Sometimes a message is given by a congregation. Sometimes a message is apparent. Sometimes the message is hidden. Sometimes these messages that are given to us are in the form where we look at that these being addressed in the form of words, or sometimes these messages are in the form of actions of individuals. And therefore we do not say that all of the things that we learn from Ashura are the kalam of Imam alayhi salatu wasalam. But many things are due to the actions of Imam alayhi salatu wasalam. Sometimes the person from whom we are deriving these messages did not give any message. It's by looking and studying the whole movement, we drew a lot of messages from that movement, for example. So these are different ways of looking at this message. For example, when this wajib of nahi anil munkar, God forbid you saw me walking into a liquor store, although I was only going there to get the directions, but you saw Malana walk in. Next day, right away, you're going to show me a cold shoulder. And that's what you should do. And I'm just giving an example that if someone does something wrong and you've seen him do wrong, if you know, first of all, do not speculate that they might have done wrong. No. If you know for sure someone has done something wrong, without speculation, this is where nahi anil munkar becomes wajib, forbidding the evil. It's just as wajib as these other wajibat, such as namaz, roza, hajj, zakat, and so on. But when you do nahi anil munkar, one of the methods that is mentioned, the first method is not to go ahead and punish this person. In fact, punishment does not even lie in our hands. That's in the hands of hakim. We can tell this person, brother, what you did was wrong. But that is also the second stage. The first stage is, show it through your heart. Turn away from this person. This person who anticipates that you greet him, you please him, you stand in front of him, you talk, you're no longer talking. Right away he'll get the message. Have I done something? Then you go ahead and explain. This is how you convey a message. So in this nahi anil munkar, you did not have to utter a word out of your mouth, yet you were able to convey a message. Ashura is the same way for us. It is not limited to the sayings of Imam ﷺ. Rather, it is filled with the messages from the actions of Imam ﷺ, and even the things that Imam did not perform. Just by reading through the pages of history, we understand many of these messages. First discussion that we will have. I know last night I went through quickly of the topics that we will be discussing, so I'll recap that very quickly once again. Just the one that we want to talk about tonight. First, the discussion will be lessons learned on belief. Belief is our aqa'id, things that we believe in. For example, tawheed. For example, adl, nubuwwat, imamat and qiyamah. And shafa'at, and these other concepts that are hidden in our belief. All of these can be derived from Karbala. Inshallah, we'll walk through this and we'll understand how that is possible. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But in order to get something and gain something from someone, you need to learn about that individual as well. The ma'rifat about our imam. What kind of ma'rifat do we have of our imam? What kind of recognition do we have of our imam? Is it the ID card recognition we hold? The name of imam, the father's name, the mother's name, relative's name, where he was born, where he died, what happened, so on and so forth. If that's the criteria, then enemy of imam knows more than you and I. Those who are present in Karbala is standing in front of Imam, challenging him. Min Jumla, Shibr, Umar Asad, all of these individuals, they know more about Imam. They grew up in the same area. They've seen Imam for 40, 50 years. They know innermost details of Imam more than you and I would. But still their eyes are blind for something else that has been offered to them. They don't have the recognition of Imam. They know Imam, but they don't have the recognition of Imam. I'll keep repeating that word. What kind of recognition do you and I hold about Imam? And then the discussion comes to the Imam of our time. What kind of recognition do we have for the Imam of our time? So recognition is very important. I'll tell you what kind of recognition we have. First recognition is the ma'rifat is divided into three parts. Ma'rifat jalali, ma'rifat jamali, wa ma'rifat kamali. One has to do with the jalal. That what it actually is. You know, when you look at something and you recognize it. For example, you were driving and you saw a mountain. You know that is a mountain, it's not a tree. You know it's a mountain, it's not a human being. You know it's a mountain, it's not an animal. That's the ma'rifat of the jalal of this mountain. By looking from far away, you understood that it's a mountain. But is that really a recognition? When you get close to it, you look at the features of this mountain, how big it is, how steep it is, what kind of slopes, Nashib of Faraz, all of those things of this mountain, you look, the height of this mountain. This is the Jamal, Ma'rifat Jamali. Because now you're understanding the features of this mountain. And then you get on top of this mountain. You try to climb this mountain. You get on top of this mountain. This is where we reach the Kamal and the Ma'rifat Kamali of this mountain. So it's a threefold formula that it states. Do you think you and I have the Ma'rifat Kamal of Imam alayhi salatu wasalam? I'll give you an example of some individuals who were in the life of Imam. Salman al-Farsi, we all know about him. Salman is an individual who was always found next to Amir al-Mu'mineen. He was always learning something from Amir al-Mu'mineen. People, whenever they would enter into the masjid, they'll see Salman is sitting next to Imam. They say, well, beat him tomorrow. He comes here and he's with Imam early in the morning. We'll leave earlier than him to beat him, and we get to Imam before he does. Next morning, these people leave early to get to Amir al-Mu'mineen. On the way to the masjid, they see there's only one set of footsteps, and that belongs to Amir al-Mu'mineen. So that's good. Salman has not reached Amir al-Mu'mineen yet. They make it to the masjid, they see Salman is sitting with Amir al-Mu'mineen. He said, how did you beat us to it? We did not even see your footsteps. He said, I recognize my Mawla. I put my steps where the steps of my Mawla were. I put my steps onto the steps of my Mawla, and that's how I got over here. That's why you did not see my steps. That's called mushayi'at. You know the word shi'a, where does it emerge from? Mushayi'at. That means you put steps where the steps of Masuma. That's where Ma'rifat comes from. But even the Ma'rifat of Salman was of the Ma'rifat of Jamal of Imam. Because the Ma'rifat Kamali is not in the hands of human beings. The Ma'rifat Kamali of Imam is only with Allah and Rasul. That's why Prophet said, Ya Ali, O Ali, to you only who Allah and I myself know you. You know me and Allah knows me. And to Allah only me and you are the ones who are knowledgeable about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Kamal Ma'rifat in regards to Imam is only with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasulullah. You and I, as much as we can get to the Ma'rifat Jamal of Imam alayhi salatu wasalam. But if we can get to that, what Salman Farsi was at. What happened to Salman? Prophet called it to be As-Salmanu minna Ahlul Bayt. You have that type of recognition, you become an enter being the part of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam. Salam bi Muhammad. So when we can have this sort of ma'rifat of Imam, then we can really understand the messages of Imam. When you understand and have this acquaintance with this person, then you follow every single thing that comes from that individual. So in history, we have two types of lessons that we can learn. Either these are good lessons, or they're things by which we take ibrat, or we take heed. So we find in Quran as well, there are many stories of Hazrat Musa. But right in front of the stories of Hazrat Musa, we find Fir'aun. So we take heed from the stories of Fir'aun. But we take lessons from the stories of Hazrat Musa. The ayat that I recited in front of you today is from Surah Fajr. If you look at the middle part of Surah Fajr, it's talking about three very strong nations, all of whom were destroyed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Qawm Ad, Qawm Thamud, and Qawm Fir'aun. All three were destroyed. They were way advanced of their time from the individuals that lived at that time. The way they had designed different things and the way they had constructed their homes, they were very advanced. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroyed them. Destroyed them why? The ayat answers itself. They did not used to take care of yatim. They did not used to take care of orphans and the destitute. They were heedless about them, and that became the reason for their destruction. So similarly over here, we read the story of Hazrat Musa, we learn lessons. But at the same time, we read the story of Fir'aun, we take heed. We read the story of Prophet, we learn lessons. We look at the enemies of Prophet, we take heed. Similarly, in the time of Imam Hussein, we learn the lessons from what Imam ﷺ did, and then we take heed from the enemies of Imam ﷺ. And therefore, we see that you do not follow those from whom you are taking heed. Quran itself points towards it by saying, وَلَا تُطِعْ مَنْ أَغْفَلْنَا قَلْبَهُ عَنْ ذِكْرِنَا وَاتَّبَعَ هَوَاهُ وَكَانَ أَمْرُهُ فُرُطًا. He says, do not obey those whom we have caused to neglect us and instead follow their own desires beyond all limits. So there are individuals that you will find in history, you take heed, you do not follow them. And it is interesting how our 11th Imam, when he was giving the criteria of following these scholars in the absence of Imam, he used similar words. What did Imam ﷺ say? When he's talking about, he says, فَأَمَّا مَنْ كَانَ مِنَ الْفُقَهَاءِ صَائِنًا لِنَفْسِهِ حَافِظًا لِدِينِهِ مُخَالِفًا عَلَى هَوَاهُ مُطِيعًا لِأَمْرِ مَوْلَاهُ. You see the similarities of the words used in this hadith and the words used in this ayat that I recited in front of you. Imam is telling us that after the Imams, or in the absence of Imam, there will be scholars whom you should emulate, whom you should follow. What is the criteria? This person, aside from possessing knowledge, should have these qualities as well. صَاعِنًا لِنَفْسِهِ, should be able to protect his nafs. حَافِظًا لِدِينِهِ, should be able to protect the religion. مُخَالِفًا عَلَى هَوَاهُ, should go against his hawa wa havas, his desires, but مُطِيعًا لِأَمْرِ مَوْلَى, and should be obedient to the amr of Mawla. If these criterion exist, فَلِلْعَوَامِ أَن يُقَلِّدُوا, it is incumbent upon the people to go ahead and follow, يُقَلِّدُوا, taqleed, follow these individuals. This is where we understand this concept of taqleed that comes about. Salawat bi Muhammad wa So if we look closely into the life of Imam Hussain, we learn great lessons. If you look at the kalam of Imam Hussain, there's tawheed that is being understood from the kalam of Hussain. There's ma'ad which is being understood from the kalam of Hussain. This famous hadith that is usually put up onto billboards and is translated and you see it around these days a lot, it's a good thing. Imam ﷺ, in one of his instructions, he said to the enemy, when Imam was in the battlefield, he's striking the enemy, but he sees the enemy sneaks behind his back, goes towards the tents, and tries to violate the tents. What does Imam say? He turns around and he says, "In lam yakun lakum deenun." If you do not have any religion, وَلَا تَخَافُونَ الْمَعَادِ, and you're not afraid of ma'ad and the hereafter, فَكُونُوا أَحْرَارًا فِي دُنْيَاكُمْ, at least be free in this world of yours. I'm alive. Shimr right away looked at Imam and said, "Oh Hussain, what are you trying to say?" He said, "As long as I'm alive, keep fighting me. Why are you going towards the tents? There's no need to. In lam yakun lakum deen." If you do not have any religion, which you do not, if you had any religion, what does religion do to you? It sets boundaries for you. It sets limits for you. There are limits set by religion for you. You would not do this what you're doing. You would not trespass those boundaries. وَلَا تَخَافُونَ الْمَعَادِ. If you had any religion, you would understand there's ma'ad, there's hereafter. And there will be accountability in the hereafter. You would not be trespassing those boundaries because of the fear of the ma'ad. Because you do not possess either one of the two, فَكُونُوا أَحْرَارًا فِي دُنْيَاكُمْ, at least be free in this world that you live. There are social standards of living. At least follow those social standards. Shimr said, "Oh Hussain, what are you trying to say?" He said, "As long as I'm alive, do not approach the tents." They came back. So we see that how in this one sentence, Imam ﷺ is giving so many messages. Message about ma'ad, message about religion, and then later on the night of Ashur, when Imam ﷺ gathers all of his companions, he gives a khutbah. And what a khutbah that Imam gives. He starts by saying, Allahumma. This is again one of the things that we need to understand as to how a lot of time we are given these, titles that Shias have their own version of Quran. Come to our masajid, look at our Quran. It's the same Quran that is printed in the Arab world. Same 114 chapters, same 30 juz, nothing more, nothing less. Every single Arab is at its own place. Nothing different. No, Shias have 40 juz Quran. What is that Quran name? You go out and you search on Google, you'll find it. 40 juz. What do you find in this juz? After the 30 juz that we have normally, you will find Dua Kumail in it. You will find Dua Joshan Saghir, Joshan Kabir in it. You will find all of these adiyye at the end of this Quran. And that is supposed to be the Quran of the Shia. This is where we need to educate them. No, these are the adiyye, dua, supplications taught to us by our Masumeen. We read them, we learn from them, but we do not consider them to be part of Quran. So do not associate that with us. And there's a difference between the du'as that Masumeen have taught us as opposed to the ayat of Quran. Some of the chapters of Quran are in the form of dua. Surah Fatiha is a dua. You start by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, mentioning His attributes, and then you ask something in the middle, and then you emphasize that which side do you belong to and which side you do not belong to. That's what Surah Fatiha is. You ask, you talk about the attributes of Allah, you ask what do we want? Oh Allah, keep us on the right path. Which path? The one upon whom you bestowed your mercy, not those upon whom you sent your anger and who are astray. It's a dua. But this is where Masumeen were very, very careful when they were teaching us these du'as. You do not see any dua begins with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. But this is our belief that every chapter of Quran begins with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. That's why we recite Bismillah in the beginning of every chapter in our namaz.
Subhanallah.
But how do the du'as begin? They begin either with Allahumma, Rabbana, Ya Rab, Rabbi, and so on and so forth. This is how the du'as begin. It begins in the name of Allah, but not in the form of Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, so that people do not confuse these du'as with the ayat of Quran. But they would confuse. This is where we see the kalam of Masoom has reached that limit where people are laymen and having confusion as if to this is the kalam of Masoom or this is the kalam of Rahman. Salawat Muhammad. What did Imam say? Last words, and inshallah I will conclude. I'm running out of my time. Allahumma inni ahmaduka an akramtana bin nubuwwah. Oh Allah, I praise you. These are the messages that we learn from Ashura brothers and sisters. Allahumma inni ahmaduka an akramtana bin nubuwwah. Oh Allah, we're thankful to you that you bestowed us with nubuwwat in the form of our Nabi. وَعَلَّمْتَنَا الْقُرْآنِ, and you taught us Quran. وَفَقَّهْتَنَا فِي الدِّينِ, you gave us pondering over the religion. وَجَعَلْتَ لَنَا أَسْمَاءً وَأَبْصَارًا وَأَفْئِدَةً, and you created for us the eyes, the ears, and the heart. فَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الشَّاكِرِينَ, make us among those who are thankful towards you. This is where the difference in the shahadat or difference in the sacrifice lies. There was a sacrifice which is referred to as Dhabh Adhim of Ibrahim and Ismail alayhi salatu, where Hazrat Ismail is being asked a question by Hazrat Ibrahim. Oh my son, I saw a dream, anni adbahuka fanzur ma batara. I saw a dream that I'm sacrificing you. What is your opinion? Oh father, ya abati if'al ma tu'mar satajiduni inshallah min as-sabirin. Oh Prophet, oh Father, do what you've been commanded. Inshallah, you'll find me among those who are patient. When do you do patience? When do you show patience? When do you do sabr? You do sabr in the front of a musibat. For example, someone loses a loved one, someone dies in your family, others come to console your heart. What do they say? May Allah give you patience. So Hazrat Ismail, that sacrifice which did not even take place because it was replaced, he's looking at it as a musibat. He said, oh Father, you'll find me among those who are sabirin. But look at night of Ashur. Imam ﷺ is telling all the companions, tomorrow every single one will be martyred. But the dua that he's making, فَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الشَّاكِرِينَ, make us among those who are thankful to you. When do you show thankfulness? When are you grateful towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or anyone else? When you have received a ni'mat. In other words, Imam is looking at this shahada in the form of a ni'mat, not in the form of a musibat. On this journey, Imam passes through many places. Imam came to Makkah to stay there because it's a place which provides immunity and security. But then I said last night, these people had very little care for the immunity of Makkah and the sanctity of Makkah. They were willing to shed blood even inside Makkah. Imam ﷺ collected his family and he went into another direction. There are different stations that Imam passes through. I don't have a great deal of time to go into details. I'll just name a few places that Imam passes on his way to Karbala. First maqam that Imam passes is the maqam of Taneem. This is also where he runs into people who are telling Imam not to go in this direction. Second maqam that Imam stops is maqam of Safah. Here he runs into Farazdaq. When Imam inquires him about Kufa, Farazdaq says, their hearts are with you, but their swords are against you. Imam keeps moving because he has sent his messenger in the form of Muslim ibn Aqil. Imam will not turn around until he hears the news from Muslim ibn Aqil because he has complete trust in Muslim ibn Aqil. Imam keeps moving forward. He gets to the place called Dhatul Irq. Again, some people tell Imam, why are you heading in this direction? These people are against you. Imam shows them all of the lectures that he had received from the people of Kufa. Imam continues to move. He gets to the place called Khuzaymah. Then he gets to the place called Shuq. Then he gets to the place called Bintul Irq. Bintul Uqba. This is where Imam ﷺ sees a dream. The dream that Imam saw, in which he saw that he's being martyred. Imam wakes up and tells his companions, you no longer need to come along with me. I left my authority from you. You're free to go if you want to. Upon which Ali Akbar said to Imam, "Oh Imam, are we not on haqq?" Imam said, "Indeed we are." "Are they not on batil?" He said, "Indeed they are." He said, "Then what is the need for us to turn around and go? We'll continue to follow you."
Subhanallah.
From this, Imam moves towards a place called Sharaf. This is where he runs into the army of Hur ibn Yazid al-Riyahi. And alongside with Hur, you heard the Masaib. Yesterday, in the Urdu Majlis, Imam ﷺ, who was denied going in any direction, they move in another direction. Who said, you cannot go towards Kufa, but you can go in this new direction. Imam moves towards in this direction, and he runs into a place where his horse even denies going further. Imam changes the horse, but the second horse denies going further. Riwayat mentioned that Imam changed 7 different horses, none of whom wanted to go any further. Imam asked, what is this place called? Some people said this place is called Shati al-Furat. Some people said this place is called Nainawa. Some people said, no, this place is called Karbala. Imam said, indeed, this is the land of Karbun wa Bala. Karbu wa Bala, this is the place of pain and agony, and this is the place of calamity. Imam ﷺ, when he was leaving for this journey, there was one individual that he left behind, his grandmother by the name of Salma. She stopped him like everyone else stopped Imam. But he said, oh grandmother, if I don't go today, I'll have to go tomorrow. This is what Prophet has already predicted for me, and I will be martyred in Karbala. Salma, in this old advanced age, what does she say? She said, how would I know what has happened to you, O Hussein? This is where Imam Hussein gives her some sand from the land of Karbala. He said, keep it with you, and when this turns red, and when this turns into blood, that will be your indication that I have left this world. Salma keeps this bottle which has the sand from Karbala. One morning she wakes up, she sees Rasulullah in her dream. Rasulullah is crying and weeping. He has sand all over his hair and his head. She said, oh Rasulullah, oh Habibullah, why do I see you in such a form? He said, do you not know, O Salma, Salma, my son Hussein has just been martyred in Karbala. Salma wakes up, picks up that bottle in which there was sand of Karbala. She looks, it has all turned into red, into blood. She understands that Hussein has been martyred. She starts weeping and chanting and crying. The women of Medina come close. They say, what happened, Salma? He said, my Hussein has been martyred. He said, don't say that. Hussein has gone on a journey. We do not have any news of Hussein's martyrdom. Why do you say such a thing? She said, you do not know. I just saw Rasulullah in my dream, and the sand has turned into red, into blood, and that's my indication that Hussein has been martyred. Salma goes to the grave of Rasulullah and to give him pursa, to give him condolences, and to console, O Rasulullah, my condolences to you. Your grandson Hussein has been martyred. And upon hearing this, there might have been a sound that came from the grave of Rasulullah. Oh, Salma, why do you tell me? I was witnessing the whole event as Hussein was being slain. ألا لعنة الله القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون.